Hey everybody, Minus here from Pantheon Plus, and rather than only uploading our gameplay streams from Twitch, we want to put together little mini impressions videos where we'll be able to highlight key items within the game that might make it something you'd enjoy. So without further ado, today we're going to be talking about a new ARPG, Wolcen. And before I even begin, I'm going to hit you with a small spoiler. I love this game. To give you a taste of why I love Wolcen, we're going to break it into 4 categories. Overall gameplay, the attribute system, the spell system, and the skill/class system. So let's get started, shall we? What impresses me most about Wolcen is the crisp and clean presentation. I've played a ton of ARPGs in my time, and the one thing that makes Diablo king to me is how great the overall feel of the game is. It's not just the fluid animations, the lighting effects, and what you see and hear, but it's how you feel as a player when you connect with a spell or an attack on an enemy and turn them into a bloody pile of meat. In a lot of games I play, while they may have some of those attributes, sometimes things just feel off. For example, in Path of Exile, I never felt like my attacks felt meaty, or at least in the early gameplay. Wolcen, however, takes all the important attributes of the gameplay and meshes them perfectly, giving me the only experience I can think of that matches Diablo in presentation. I noticed this immediately when I started up the game and began playing, and I think you're going to as well. The other nice thing is that the game does also get dangerous. During our online sessions, we wiped a number of times on boss fights by focusing too much on the deeps, and quickly realized that we needed to obey the mechanics of the various enemies we fought. Now don't get me wrong, the game isn't going to stomp your face into the mud, at least this early in the game, but it won't let you be a noob either. I know I mentioned previously how clean the game felt, but I have to reiterate that the spells and attack animations are awesome. Special shout out to Thunderstrike, which got an instant positive response from my community watching on the stream. I was singing AC/DC for days. When it comes to these types of games, items and loot are really important, and at least early on they felt great in this game. They're characterized by Sorcerer, Rogue, Bruiser, and Heavy, giving the basic archetype builds a type of gear to focus on. This is typically tied to stat lines and attack types that would make sense for the different class builds that you can manufacture. Of course, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. You have your typical loot color progression, white to blue to yellow to purple and so forth. And we've noticed that the purple gear, which looks really cool when it drops by the way, adds elements of gameplay flavor or changes. A shield we got, for example, gave us the ability to use holy, or what they classify as sacred spells, which could only otherwise be used with a caster weapon or offhand. This type of itemization can really unlock great potential to decide how you want to play the game, not always being locked down one path. We also see random events within the map for buffs, chests, and of course your elite and rare packs we've become accustomed to across the ARPG genre. While Wolcen doesn't always recreate the wheel, they do seem to have studied up very well, taking strong pieces from their peers of the genre and putting it into a neat little package. So let's go ahead and move into the attribute system. Players will be awarded 10 points per level to apply as they would like, between 4 different attribute categories. These categories are Ferocity, Toughness, Agility, and Wisdom. Ferocity helps with health regeneration and critical chance for all types of abilities. Toughness boosts your HP and also your resistance capabilities. Agility will help you with dodge and boost your attack speed. And finally, Wisdom helps with resistance to status ailments, as well as the application of these ailments onto your enemies. Furthermore, you'll be treated to a great deal of number and statistics that you'll be able to see live via a side panel as you slot in your attribute points. They'll break down all different types of resistances, combat, survivability, etc. You'll be able to see quick and easy changes within your equipped gear from this menu as well, allowing number crunchers to go to town. While this may seem simple in a sense, how these play off building your class are rather intricate and can provide some really interesting combinations. Without going into too much detail on the skill/class system, which we will cover later in this video, we were able to translate resistances garnered by the toughness attribute and turn that into a ton of damage. On its own, it looks simple, but through the combination of the game's features, you can do some pretty awesome customization. The spell system is a pretty unique one in my eyes. To begin with, spells will require certain weapons to be equipped in order to be used. These types are melee, daggers/ranged, or staffs/caster items. Where this becomes pretty cool, however, is when you combine these weapon types to open up different spell use combinations. So if you want to use ranged attacks but also toss out some thunder, yeah, I can't get that spell out of my head, you can equip a one-handed pistol in your main hand and equip a catalyst in your offhand, and now you're ready to go. This combination allows for further customization of your character, creating a unique identity for your preferred playstyle. And did I mention that spells are items? This is something I've not seen often in ARPGs. However, in Wolcen, you can fill your spellbook by enemy drops, or purchasing them in the spell shop. The spell shop will randomly refresh its limited selection after a set amount of time, but this means you can really try to collect them all. But you'll also be able to burn them within the shopkeeper's menu system to gain a magic essence currency, which can be put into your known spells to increase them in levels. As you build up your spells, you'll be given various modifications that can make spells stronger, or perhaps change the way they function. This means that no matter what, when a spell drops, it's good news, even if you already have it. Turn it to dust, and level up your favorite abilities, becoming even stronger. The customization modifiers of the abilities are also pretty cool. They can be used simple as increasing the damage or range of an ability to how it functions completely. For example, I was able to turn the skill Blade Storm from a click and spin a couple times ability into a hold and never stop spinning Slaughterfest. As you progress through these different modifications, they appear to give you stronger and stronger modifications as you increase in level. This is a neat system in my eyes because adding spells into the game in this fashion gives the developers room to add spells into the game fairly simply, while building on the spell system over time and adding modification improvements to make spells more useful, even if they were to fall out of favor. Let's also not forget that spells dropping in this fashion creates the ability to trade with friends to expand collections and bring players together. Perhaps the most important part of Wolcen is the highly customizable network of passive skills that will ultimately define your character and playstyle. For every level you achieve in the game, to a maximum of 90, you'll be granted 2 skill points, which will allow you to make your way through this maze of passive abilities. All of these nodes or sockets are color-coded, tying them into the 3 different types of combat we spoke about earlier, which, in their most simple form, are red for melee, green for ranged, and purple for magic. While the game doesn't have set classes, you will notice within each of the sections of the grid that they will have a familiar class name above the skills so that a player can relate to what the skill set is trying to achieve. Titles like Scholar or Warlock, for example, will highlight areas of the spellcasting portion of the network. These node-like systems can also connect into adjacent categories, crossing the line between the 3 different types. While on its own the system is strong, it evolves further as you are able to select and rotate the 3 different pieces of the skill system. Rotating the outside rings aligns the skills with different trees, allowing you to build seamlessly across all the different paths. It's really wild to start planning out how you want to build. While this can seem a bit confusing, let me give you an example of what we decided to do when we were building a tank-style bruiser. Starting in the middle of the network, we identified what strong abilities, signified by the larger circles on the map, would be the most advantageous to us. Being that we were focusing on toughness and ferocity, we wanted to build those 2 attributes higher. We began to plan far ahead, looking into the second tier of abilities, where we found one in particular which added 0.75% damage per point of physical resistance. Being a tank, we saw this as a great opportunity to build up our beefiness while outputting that directly into damage. That said, the same modifier also took 50% of our crit away, a punishing negative for a great positive. However, when working down from that ability, we noticed another large node which actually granted us the 50% crit back. So if we were able to work from one to the other, we could essentially negate that negative effect. This is where we started, and working in between, we attempted to gain more resistances, more crit, and of course, more damage. It becomes a rather fun journey to work your way through this system, and see your character's identity building before your eyes. With a third wheel coming with even more specialization for the launch of the game, the possibilities seem endless. I feel like this system will create a massive amount of replayability, but furthermore, tweaking and changing your skills as you acquire epic new loot will feel great. This type of gameplay and progression allows ARPGs to live a long life and continue to entice players to keep grinding. Thank you for checking out our pre-launch video on Wolcen. I have to say that I'm 100% bought in and ready to go for their February 13th launch. There's no doubt that you'll be seeing weekly streams from us here at Pantheon Plus after the game launches. And if you enjoyed our content, please check us out and toss us a follow on Twitch at twitch.tv/Pantheon Plus. We'll be doing live gameplay streams Monday through Wednesday covering ARPGs, MMORPGs, and games that tie into those genres. Of course, don't miss hanging out with us on Thursdays during our weekly show Pantheon Plus U, which focuses 100% on Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, our most anticipated game in ages. See you next time, and thank you so much for checking us out.